Welcome to another edition of
Making sense. So this week has been quite an eventful week on the political front, and we've got a lot going on. And so it has been, undeniably busy week. And the issues that we have chosen to discuss for this week is one of the most controversial subjects
that has
in Thai
been
politics.
discussed widely.
Yes, it never hasn't really gone away because it's been with us,
Since 2017.
yes, so many points in time in the past we have dealt with the issue, and that is the charter amendments, okay, or the constitution amendments.
Another one is the shock announcement of the resignation of Finance Minister Mr. Pridi Chai.
Definitely, because I think with Mr. Pridi's resignation, it was so abrupt, and nobody had ever thought that after only 25 days in the post, decided to call it quits.
There are 5 ministers prior to this that resigned before a month.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
Caused quite a stir.
Yes, because he is one of the most so one of the most important figures in the current cabinet.
That came from the private sector and was handpicked by Prime Minister himself. We're going to discuss the first issue,
Okay.
the most important one.
Right. I think the controversial issue related to the charter amendments. I think it was one of the key issues that during the past election last year, the March 24 election last year, some of the parties that ran for that election wanted this issue to be, a landmark manifestos. And the Democrat Party has made this issue one of its key, election policies. And what happened is, most other political parties, didn't appear to be so keen about it. And right now, that issue has come back, right, to haunt the government, really, because it has been one of the vocal, issues that have been raised, especially by the youth-less protesters.
Yes.
And I think what has happened this week, it has come to the point where, charter amendments proposals have reached another milestone, and that is, because we've heard a lot about it, it's been talked about, but little has been acted on this proposed charter amendment. And what has happened this week is the government has submitted its motion, and after the opposition, okay, has done that last month. And the motion, basically, the two motions, one initiated by the government and the other by the opposition, these two motions are submitted separately at separate times to the House Speaker. So what happens here is these motions basically open the way for the Constitution redrafting or rewriting body to be set up. In Thai, we call it the Sasara. And what happens, at this very particularly, important juncture, is after the motions have been submitted, there's going to be a lot of, debate in Parliament, certainly, to get this ball rolling, this, Constitution redrafting assembly ball rolling. And it's going to be, quite an eventful, I think, in the next, these coming months.
So what's the stance of the government? I mean, what's the essence of the motion proposed by the government?
I think, the government, as after the Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha has thrown his support behind this motion to be submitted and the Constitution Redrafting Assembly to be set up. The government went ahead with this motion. And this motion basically says that we're going to be, amending, first and foremost, Section 256 in the Constitution. Now, this particular section has a very unique, essence to it, because what happens is this particular section says that we're going to be setting up this Constitution Rewriting Assembly, and the composition of the makeup of this body, how many people are going to be picked to be the redrafting assembly members, who are they, how are they going to be appointed or elected, or are they going to be wholly elected, are they going to be partially elected and partially appointed. That's the key foundation of what makes up this of this motion. So I think the two sides, the government and the opposition, have fundamentally agreed on, that they're going to be unlocking, or you've got this key called Section 256. Unlock it. Have this body, rewriting body, set up. But the only difference between these two motions submitted by the government and the opposition is the government would like 150 people to be elected from from the provinces, whereas the opposition's version of the motion, this particular motion, is the call for the election of the people from the provinces, all 200 of them. Okay, but there's going to be for the government's version, they're going to be also recruiting experts in various fields, like the academics, and also there's going to be at least 10 representatives from the students groups. So that is going to be one very important component of that of the redrafting body that has been initiated by the government. Whereas on the opposition side, they're going to be calling for about 80 or 90 people to be the people who actually perform the job of redrafting the Constitution itself. I think the main question in my mind right now is the Constitution Amendment. Is it going to be a panacea of all problems? Is it really? Issues that we're dealing with, that a lot of people have called for as the basis for changing the Constitution. I mean, this time is about the senators, right? Senators.
250 of them.
Yes, and they were selected by the now defunct National Council for Peace and Order, NCPO. Even though the NCPO is no longer here, right?
People still criticize.
Powers have been inherited by this government.
Yes.
And so that is not really something that the pro-democracy groups are going to be able to accept. They haven't found that acceptable from the very beginning. So this is why we're here at this point, calling for the amendment of the Charter to get rid of these senators.
But one thing for sure, in short term, it's going to ease the tension between the protests and the government.
I'm not so sure about that, because we need to look very closely at the details of the Charter Amendment that we're pursuing. Certainly, because the three demands that the youth-led protesters, yes, stop the dissolution of the House, and certainly stop harassing people. This is really I haven't heard details that could flesh out these demands, right? So they haven't really spelled out what they expect of the Charter amendments. So it's like they're waiting. They have adopted this attitude of waiting and see. And if you're waiting for something to happen, and if the details have come out, of the amendments, they might approve of them or they might not approve of them. And also, if you please one, side, you might offend another. It's going to be quite an intense business. This changing the charter, rectifying or whatever, fixing the charter, okay? Because it involves a lot of people, and people feel that even though it is a supreme law of the land, they're affected one way or the other. But to me, I think it's quite ironic that in our everyday life, we seem not to be aware of the importance of the charter. But then, when it comes to the point where we have to make decisions, where there is a political tension going on, then we always refer to this mother of all laws, and we expect that if we fix it, the problems that we see are going to go away. No, it's not a cure-all, and so it could be that it's going to make more problems than it solves, this amendment.
Move on to another big issue, a shock announcement by the then Finance Minister, Mr. Priti Daochai.
Yeah, we can pretty much call him a former Finance Minister because his resignation, I think it's been published in
the Gazette.
Yes. He is possibly, the shortest serving.
26
days. And so the excuse, what excuse, or not excuse,
Okay.
the reason given.
So basically, Mr. Priti supplied his resignation with health issues. But reportedly, Mr. Priti Daochai and Mr. Santi from Patpon reportedly had a role on the candidacy of high-level position in the finance ministry. But yesterday, I think, Jen Pravit Wongsuwan and Mr. Santi himself said that there was no role whatsoever. So,
why do I not find that surprising? I mean, it was surprising to have learned about his, abrupt resignation.
I mean, private sector has been putting their hope in Mr. Priti's expertise from the private sector, that he will come and ease all the problems from the COVID-19 pandemic and stuff. But from the report that I have read and heard, he had no power whatsoever. He had the post, but that's it. That's all he had. Even though the Prime Minister had handpicked him in this position.
I think that's the key element of this story, because the Prime Minister has always, has been very protective of this finance ministry portfolio, Prime Minister portfolio, because he, at this particular, critically important time, the way that the country is rebuilding itself from, the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic. We need a lot of, this, it's the money that spins all the mechanisms for, alleviating the effects of the pandemic. So we need a very strong hand in, in finance.
To be in charge of this Herculean task.
Yes, exactly. So you need professional. You need a non-politician who is a professional in the respective area, the area of the country's finance.
If you are not well equipped with all these political strategies, you may be, because this government, from many critics, they said that it's almost like Game of Thrones. It is. Behind the wall, behind the curtain. snatching of powers and everything.
Yes, but I think I would expect the Prime Minister who invited Mr. Pridi to take on this, as you could, this huge task of managing the country, which is reeling from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. If you invite somebody who has absolutely no political background or who has little political background, then you would need to, as much as you are protective of that quota of the finance ministry portfolio, you have to be protective of him, the person you invited in, for to take this task, and you have to protect him from the political machinations or the political maneuverings and that go on.
Back to the beginning. Where did this happen? It started from a revolt in the party, right?
Yes.
When General Pravit became the head of
the leader of the Pacharat Party.
And then the three finance superpowers.
The three figures, key figures in the economic. Yes, Sikuman.
In English, what did we translate?
I think Sikuman.
Fantastic Four?
Fantastic Three, Fantastic Four. There were the group who had
expertise,
the economic ministers led by the then Deputy Prime Minister Somkit Jatusipitak, right? And after all the turbulence that had gone on inside the party, the ruling party, Palang Pracharat Party, and it led to these economic ministers having resigned from the cabinet seats, and they just basically went, they left, and the party, and not party, the government, the government was in, well, to me, it didn't look very, very,
strong.
Yes, it didn't bode well for the government to see these people who are the very important components of the government leaving left and right. That left not a very good impression on the government, and so the Prime Minister was left with this job, unenviable job of trying to find somebody who will fit. A lot of critics, are asking this, question. Why didn't the Prime Minister protect him? But if you ask that question, then you need to, it shows that you have a certain assumption in your head that, possibly Mr. Pridi had, gone through this unbearable phase of, political confrontation with people who are politicians, holding, finance-related or economic posts within the cabinet, or he has been subject to this very, intense political pressure. So, of course, these things, aren't confirmed, but there have been speculations flying around.
Reporters inside the finance ministry said they quarreled during the candidacy.
Yes, because I think this is at the point, a very important point on the calendar, because the fiscal year is ending next month.
Shuffling of the posts.
Of course. So the shake-up of the senior occupants of important posts in the bureaucracy, in the state agencies. This is now the time to determine who will get what in the key posts.
And Palang Pracharat Party is quite protective of this post. I mean, the finance minister post. But however, Gen Pravit said that the party will not interfere with the selection of the new ministry. That will leave this task to the Prime Minister.
The important thing here is how are you going to find somebody to replace Pridi? Of course, there
pop up.
Some names have popped up, certainly, but it it is not, you need to have somebody with the experience, somebody with the caliber, somebody with the,
Economic expertise, finance expertise.
we could find them, but are they going to be willing to come in? Because
That's a big question.
it's a really, really rough road,
Yes.
not paved with
Roses.
roses. Certainly, you will have to deal with, people under you, politicians, and these politicians are not,
Maybe they-
give up their powers, and they're going to be, have established their own little kingdoms.
They don't have the interest of the countries in their minds.
Well, some of them might not, but what we're dealing with now, right now, is we need somebody who can really step on, and take on the huge economic challenge. We need somebody who can tolerate and who can, certainly survive, huge economic pressure,
COVID-19
financial pressure,
and have the borrow of money.
because the economy is going to, has been predicted to become increasingly volatile.
Yes. Who do you have in mind?
I
Gone to the company?
No. He appears to be really preoccupied with,
New political party.
consolidating the forces to become this GA party that he has established and to
What about
step
Mr.
in.
Santi? He had stepped out and said he's willing to accept the position. He had held 2 ministerial posts, transport, and another one, พัฒนาสังคม
And now he is deputy. But let me tell you this. If Mr. Santi was to become finance minister, he would have been given the post.
A long time ago, even before.
Yes, you just answered that question because and there have been opportunities for him to to get the post, but somehow he missed out on the finance minister post. Why? But there is also an option a lot of people consider to be worth considering, and that is the Prime Minister himself concurrently.
Well,
leave, right now he is holding on to 2 jobs,
Defense.
one is Prime Minister and Defense,
and then he's going to take on another. And then he's going to
another,
leave the defense minister post and occupy.
I'm saying this in jest, but it might come true, who knows?
Okay, some groups have supported this.
It's
But
quite
that's gonna
an interesting scenario,
Right,
the Prime
that's gonna-
Minister freeing him up to take on the finance minister.
That's going to deteriorate the trust of investor further. Like, Mr.
No.
Prayut, come on.
I mean, a lot of things have happened in this country that you had thought was least, it wasn't, realistic. That couldn't have come true. But then, we've seen so many impossible
Surreal.
things coming true. So, I'm just going to leave it there to let our viewers
Decide who should be the next finance minister. Should
Yes.
Prime Minister
Please
Prayut Chan-o-cha
leave a
himself?
comment. Please leave a comment.
Because we don't
And
have the answer for you. Once again, we're not an oracle. Yeah.
It's,
But feel free to share your thoughts. Quarrel in a civil manner. in the comments.
yes. We'd like to read them, and it's important. I think right now it's certainly fascinating to see how people react to those options that have been left open in the wake of Mr. Priti Dachai's departure from the finance minister post. So it would be interesting. By next week, who knows? There might already be his replacement.
Because the PM said that he will
sworn in.
replace this post in a timely fashion. Next week? Tuesday?
Possibly.
So leave your thoughts. Who will become the next finance minister? And those who predicted correctly to receive nothing yet.
An applause.
Yeah.
An applause.
And that pretty much sums up the third episode of Making
Making sense.